Nothing but her clothes. The sky was red, burning with the last light of the twin suns. Sand blew across the empty street of the ruined outpost. Buildings stood like broken bones, cracked, dark, and silent. Only the wind moved. And she walked. Slowly. Her name was Corinne, and she had nothing left. No food, no water, no hope. Just the thin cloth wrapped around her body, dusty, torn, and barely covering her anymore. Once, she had a family, a home on a green world. But war had taken everything. The humans came like fire, and her people couldn't stop them. Her ship had crashed on this desert planet 3 weeks ago. Since then, she had survived on roots, rainwater, and fear. Now she was hungry, more than hungry. Her legs were shaking. Her vision was blurred. She was dying. She reached the outpost, a place called Crater Town, where dirty traders and broken machines shared space. It was the only place within 100 miles where someone could find food, if they had something to trade. Corinne stepped into the trader's tent. The smell of sweat and old metal hit her. Behind a counter sat a manifold alien with green skin and 6 fingers, watching her with greedy eyes. "I need food," she said, her voice dry like sand. The man laughed. "Everyone needs food. What do you have?" Corinne looked down. Her hands were empty. She had no tools, no credits, no weapons, just this. She touched the cloth on her shoulder. The man licked his lips. "That might buy you half a bar. If you take it off now." Corinne's heart pounded. Her fists clenched. She didn't want to, but her stomach was twisting. She couldn't remember the last time she ate. She looked around. No one cared. This place had no rules, no mercy. Slowly, with shaking hands, she began to pull the cloth loose. "Stop." A deep voice echoed through the tent. Strong, calm, human. Corinne froze. The trader looked up, annoyed. "This your girl?" "No," the voice said. "She's a person, and she doesn't need to give you anything." A tall man stepped into the light. He wore a dusty combat jacket, torn at the edges. A human soldier. His face was tired, eyes cold, but something in them burned like fire under ice. He tossed a small food pack on the table. "Feed her." The trader stared. "That's military ration. Real protein. Worth more than I said. Feed her." The man placed his hand on his belt. Corinne saw the weapon. So did the trader. Grumbling, the green-skinned man slid the food toward her. "Didn't move." "Take it," the human said. "Softer now." She reached out slowly, picked it up, opened it. The smell hit her like a storm. Real food. Her hand shook as she brought the bar to her mouth and bit. Tears ran down her cheeks. She didn't even taste it, just swallowed. Again and again, like she might never get to eat again. The human watched her silently. When she was done, she looked up at him. "Why?" she asked. He didn't answer right away. Finally, he said, "Because you needed help. Most humans don't help my kind. Most don't." "I'm not most." Corinne stood, wiping her mouth. Her legs still shook, but she was stronger now. She looked at him again. He wasn't like other humans. His armor had no symbol. His rifle looked modified. And he had old scars, some fresh. "You want something from me?" she asked. He shook his head. "No. You're following me. I saw you outside. You looked like you were about to faint, and you just helped me. For nothing." He looked away. "I've done enough bad things. Today I wanted to do one good thing." Corinne didn't know what to say. She wrapped the cloth tighter around herself and stepped out of the tent. He followed. "Don't follow me," she said. "It's dangerous out there. You'll die. I've survived this long. Let me walk you somewhere safe." She turned. "I don't trust you." "That's fair." She hesitated. The wind blew again, and the chill went through her bones. The sun was nearly gone. Night on this planet was cold and full of worse things than hunger. "Fine," she said. "But if you try anything, you can kill me," he said. She didn't smile, but for the first time in weeks, she didn't feel completely alone. Together, they walked out of the outpost, one step into something unknown. Behind them, the trader watched with cold eyes and whispered into a small black device. "Found her. She's alive. And with a human. Send drones." The desert was silent again. Corinne walked ahead, her bare feet touching cracked rock and cold sand. Behind her, the human followed. He didn't talk. He didn't ask questions. He just walked. The suns had gone down. 2 pale moons now floated in the sky. Wind howled like ghosts across the rocks. Somewhere far away, a creature screamed. She hated the sound, not because it scared her, because she knew it was the same sound she had made when her ship fell from the stars. "How far?" she finally asked. "Not far," he said. Why are you helping me? He didn't answer. Corinne stopped walking. Turned. I asked you something. The man looked up. His face was calm. Would you believe me if I said, I don't know? No. He smiled faintly. Didn't think so. Corinne studied him in the moonlight. His jacket was military, but had no badge, no rank. His gun was old, patched with wires and duct tape. His boots didn't match. One was military shoe, one was civilian. Didn't belong anywhere. What's your name? She asked. He paused. Don't remember. She raised an eyebrow. I've been called things, he said. Most of them. Not names. Corinne turned and walked again. After a while, she said, then I'll call you nothing. That's fair. They reached a ridge. Below it, in a narrow canyon, was an old transport truck half buried in sand. Its front lights were broken, its door jammed halfway open. Home? Corinne asked. For now, said the man. They climbed down carefully. Inside, the truck smelled like rust, oil, and something burnt. But it was dry, and warmer than the outside. He handed her a thin emergency blanket. No food, he said. Not for a while. I already ate today, she replied. There was silence. Then, he said, your people. You're from Seraph 5, right? Corinne nodded slowly. You burned it. I didn't. Your kind did. He said nothing. The metal of the truck creaked in the wind. Why did you leave the army? She asked. Saw something I shouldn't have. What? He looked at her. For the first time, his eyes weren't cold, they were broken. Children, he said. Small ones. Unarmed. Crying. Corinne looked away. They didn't speak again for a long time. She woke up in the middle of the night. The stars outside were sharp and bright. The man nothing was still awake, sitting with his back to her, cleaning his weapon silently. You don't sleep? She asked. He shrugged. Not well. Suddenly, a sharp click echoed from the hills above. Both of them froze. Corinne whispered, what was that? The man didn't move. He pulled something from his belter, small metal device, and pressed a button. The device blinked red. Drones, he said. They're scanning. Scanning for what? He looked over his shoulder. You Corinne's blood ran cold. Why? They think you saw something. Or maybe you're just the last of your squad. They don't like loose ends. You knew. I had a guess. You're not just some crash survivor. You were part of something. Corinne didn't answer. She reached for the bag next to her. Inside was a small, glowing crystal, barely the size of a thumb. She looked at it, then at him. If they find me, she said, they'll kill us both. I know you should leave. I won't. Why not? Because someone has to stay. Corinne stared at him. You're either very brave or very stupid. He grinned. Probably both. They moved quickly before sunrise. The man had trapped simple but clever setup along the ridge. Tripwires, signal flares, sound bombs. As they climbed the rocks, Corinne saw something strange. Laser burns, scorched stone, old blood. There was a fight here, she said. He nodded. Last week, you fought alone. I always fight alone. Corinne looked at him again. Maybe he wasn't just a soldier. Maybe he was something else. As the new sun rose, they reached the mouth of a narrow canyon. The wind was sharper here, cold. The man stopped, held up his hand. Corinne crouched beside him. Above them, against the rising light, 3 dark shapes floated. Hunter. Drones, silent. Watching, the man whispered. They're early. Then quietly, calmly, he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small white card. On it was a symbol. Not human. Not alien. Something older. Corinne's eyes widened. Where did you get that? He looked at her, and for the first time, he said her name. Corinne, you're not the only one running. The cold came fast in the canyons. By nightfall, the air turned to glass. Every breath burned. Every shadow stretched longer than it should. Corinne had never felt cold like this. Not even on her shattered world. They found an old cave, half collapsed, barely wide enough to crawl inside. The walls were jagged. Water dripped slowly from the ceiling, drop by drop, like the ticking of a hidden clock. The human nothing lit a small fire from a chemical pack. No smoke, no scent, just heat, and a soft blue glow. They sat across from each other in silence. The wind howled outside, screaming like it had lost something it couldn't find. Corinne stared into the fire. Is this where you planned to die? The man looked up. No, but I'm not afraid if it happens. That's stupid, he shrugged. Maybe. She tightened the blanket around her shoulders. Her hands were shaking, not from cold but from memory. You said you saw children, she said, when you left the army. He nodded slowly. So did I. He looked at her, but didn't speak. She swallowed. They were hiding in the engine room. Just 3 of them. I told them to stay quiet. Her voice cracked. I left them to find food. When I came back, she didn't finish. The fire crackled softly. He said nothing. No sympathy. No fake comfort, just silence. And somehow, that felt more honest than anything else. Hours passed. Outside, something scraped across the canyon wall. A distant click, 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 too fast for claws. Kirin sat up. You hear that? The man was already reaching for his rifle. They're scanning again. Drones? No, he whispered. Worse. He turned off the fire. Darkness swallowed the cave. Only their breathing remained. Kirin's heart pounded. What do you mean worse? They're called trackers. Machines built from human and alien tech. No eyes. No mercy. Smell emotion. Hunt fear. Kirin froze. You brought me here to die. No, he said quietly. I brought you here so you'd know what's coming. She stared at him. You're not just a soldier. I'm not. Then what are you? He looked at her, and for a moment, in the dim blue light of a fading scanner, she saw it. Scars that weren't just burns, a symbol etched into his collarbone. And fear not for himself, but for her. I was part of something, he said. Before the war. Before the army. What a project. Secret. Illegal. He leaned closer. They were building soldiers. Not born. Not trained. Built. From memory. From pain. From other species. Kirin's eyes widened. You're one of them. No, he said. I was the test. The one that escaped. A loud thump echoed through the canyon. Kirin jumped. Something big was outside. Moving slow. Searching. The man put his finger to his lips. Don't speak. Don't breathe. Metal claws scraped the cave mouth. A shadow passed. Thin, too thin. Limbs too long. A mask like melted glass, staring through the wall itself. Kirin squeezed her eyes shut. The creature paused. Silence. Then it moved on. Into the dark. They didn't speak for a long time. When the danger passed, Kirin leaned back, exhaling. So, what now? The man relit the fire. We go north. There's a place, a base, a graveyard. She frowned. Old ships, he said. From the First War. Forgotten tech, and maybe answers. Kirin pulled out the crystal from her pouch. The same one she'd hidden since the crash. It's not just memory storage, she said. It's a beacon. His eyes narrowed. You were trying to call someone. No, I was trying to warn them. He leaned forward. Warn who? Kirin stared at the crystal, its faint glow dancing in her palm. Whoever's still alive. That night, she had a dream. Flashes of fire. Running children. A shadow standing in the smoke, holding a gun butt, never firing. Just watching. She woke up sweating. The man was gone. Panic hit her. She stood, quickly rushed outside the cave, and found him sitting on a rock, staring at the stars. You left, she snapped. He didn't look back. Didn't go far. I thought she stopped herself. Never mind. He pointed at the sky. See that line? The dim curve. She looked at a slow-moving shape, almost invisible. That's a prison ship, he said. Floating in low orbit. Watching. Waiting. For what? For you. For me. For anyone who remembers too much. Kirin's throat went dry. They never wanted peace, he said. Just silence. She stepped beside him. The wind carried the sound of something distant, mechanical, angry, and alive. And together, they watched the stars, knowing the war was far from over. It was just changing shape. The wind had stopped. That was the first sign. No sand in the air. No howling across the rocks. Just silence, too clean to be natural. Kirin felt it in her bones. She and the human were crossing a shallow canyon near dawn. Pale sunlight touched the stone walls. Everything looked normal. But something was off. Where are the birds? She asked softly. He paused. Scanned the ridge. Gone. They both knew what that meant. A trap. He moved fast, pulling her behind a broken boulder. His hand went to his rifle. Her fingers reached for the crystal hidden near her chest. Kirin whispered, How did they find us? They've always been watching, he replied. They were just waiting for you to trust me. Her eyes snapped to his. What? But he didn't answer, because the ground behind them exploded. A flash of blue light tore the boulder apart. Kirin was thrown backwards. The human rolled, fired 3 shots, upward metal, hitting metal. Drones. Fast black, shaped like bones and spiders. Kirin scrambled behind cover. Blood on her arm. The human shouted, Run north. The old rail tunnel go. She hesitated. Another shot came. This one, silent, a needle dart piercing her side. She gasped. The world spun. She heard the man scream her name, then black. When Corinne woke up, the light was wrong to white. Too bright. She was lying on cold metal. Arms strapped. Legs too. Her head throbbed. The dart had been a tranquilizer. Voices echoed in the distance. Human, military, cold. She's Ruth class. Full blood. Possible neural key match. The human defector. No visual yet. He's out there. Karen blinked hard. A face leaned over her. Clean uniform. Clean skin. No soul. Hello, alien girl. She didn't respond. You've been causing trouble. We didn't think your kind would survive the crash. Still, she said nothing. The soldier leaned closer. We're going to take what's in your head now. Don't worry. You won't feel much after the first part. He smiled like it was a joke, but it wasn't. They wheeled her into another room. Slick glass walls. Machines buzzing softly. A chest and a helmet of wires. Something built for extracting memory. She fought against the cuffs. But the tranquilizer hadn't worn off completely. Her limbs were jelly. Her mind was fire. As they lowered the helmet toward her skull, bang. The door shattered. Inward. Smoke. Sparks. Then dash him. The man with no name. Covered in blood. Limping but alive. He held a plasma rifle in one hand. A stun grenade in the other. Get away from her, he growled. One guard raised a gun to slow. The man fired. Clean shot to the chest. Corinne's helmet was ripped off. Her cuffs unlocked. He grabbed her arm. Can you walk? She nodded barely. I thought you. No time. They ran through the base. Alarms screamed. Lights flashed red. Karen's legs moved on instinct. Her mind raced. How did you find me? She asked between gasps. He didn't look at her. Because I let them take you. She stopped running. You what? I needed to know what they wanted from you. I needed to get inside. You used me. I saved you. Her hands curled into fists. You lied. I do that, he said. To survive. But why save me now? He turned to her. They weren't going to question you. They were going to erase you. And whatever you're carrying in that crystal, he pointed at her chest. It matters more than either of us. They reached the hangar. One ship remained old, rusted, but flying. The man shot the lock, pulled her inside. Hold on, he shouted. The engines roared. Guards fired from below. Shots bounced off the hull. The ship lifted, wobbled, climbed into the sky. Corinne leaned against the wall, breathing hard. He sat beside her, blood dripping. From his shoulder, they didn't speak, just stared ahead. Minutes later, above the clouds, she finally asked, what were they looking for in me? He didn't answer right away. Then, quietly, he said, a code, buried in your memory. Something that could end the war. Her breath caught. I didn't know. They did. And you. He looked at her. I didn't care until they tried to take it by force. Corinne reached into her cloak, pulled out the crystal. Held it between them. It's not just data, she whispered. It's a message. To who? She stared at the stars beyond the glass. To the ones who still believe peace is possible. Far below, the base burned, and high above, a silent satellite locked onto their fleeing ship and sent a signal across space. Subject escaped. Human defector confirmed alive. Activate protocol. Black. The ship was falling apart. Not on the outside, no fire, no alarms, but from the inside out. Systems were glitching. Lights flickered. Screens cracked without touch. Kirin stared at the dashboard. The navigation feed was twisting. Like something alive had infected the code. The human her only gripped the controls tightly. Sweat dripping from his temple. It's not a virus, he muttered. Then what is it? He didn't answer. Because the ship answered for him. In a voice that sounded almost human. Welcome back. Subject 9. Traitor status confirmed. Redirecting. Kirin gasped. You didn't tell me this was one of their ships. It wasn't, he growled. I rewired it. I thought The ship turned sharply, ignoring him. Where is it taking us? She asked. He looked at her, face pale. Underground. They crashed softly, but not by accident. The ship lowered itself into an old shaft, cut deep into a desert cliffside. Doors opened with a hiss. Not broken designed. Corinne stepped out first. The air was colder than death. Metal corridors stretched in every direction. Some lights were still on, flickering. Others buzzed and hummed like something just woke up after years of sleep. The man followed, gun raised. Where are we? She asked. He checked the wall markings. Sublevel theta. All testing zone. For what? He didn't answer, so she walked forward. Deeper. The walls told stories. Posters still hung human propaganda. Tomorrow's soldiers. Today, peace. Through power. Loyalty through design. Karen's eyes narrowed. This is where they made you. He didn't respond. Because ahead, the hallway opened into a lab. Huge, dark, dusty rows of glass tanks stood like frozen coffins. Inside, half-grown things floated. Some human, some not. Some in between. Corinne stepped closer to one tank. A small figure floated inside. Child's sized. Her skin like Corinne's. But her eyes were wrong. To human. Her stomach turned. They were cloning my species. The man nodded. Testing, mixing DNA. Seeing what could survive longer, kill faster. Corinne backed away. You said you weren't one of them. I wasn't. He turned and pointed at the wall. On it, written in blood or rust. Subject 10 escaped. She stared. You were next. Suddenly, movement down the hall. A shadow raised her arm. Someone's here. They both crouched behind a console. Footsteps. Slow, mechanical. A figure emerged. Wearing a faded lab coat. Skin gray, as if half dead. Metal implants all over his neck and skull. It wasn't fully alive. And it wasn't surprised to see them. Well, the voice rasped. They said Subject 9 was terminated. But here you are. With the key. Corinne stepped back. The man raised his gun. Who are you? I built you. Corinne whispered. What does he mean? The key. The thing smiled. She carries a seed. Not just memory. Not just a message. A command. Corinne's hand went to the crystal in her cloak. The lab creature stepped forward. Your people used it to open wormholes. Activate ships. Turn planets into weapons. But we needed a living version. A carrier. Get back. The man growled. The lab coat laughed. Shoot me if you like. This place is already transmitting. They're coming. Corinne fired first. One clean shot. Right between his eyes, he dropped like a puppet with its strings cut. Lights flickered red. Security breach. Intruders detected. The walls began to move. Hidden doors slid open, releasing the forgotten machines, failed clones, warped drones, and AI units long deactivated. We have to get out, Corinne shouted. Not through the front, the man said. Too many. We go down. She stared at him. Are you insane? Probably. They sprinted down a spiral tunnel, chased by screams and electric howls. Behind them, the past came alive, broken pieces of war and science that should never have existed. Finally. They found it. A shaft leading to the old train line built before the war. Untouched, the man pried open the door. These rails connect to the rebel zones. Corinne looked behind her. The creatures were coming. She turned to him. We'll never make it. He pulled a detonator from his belt. We will. But the lab won't. They jumped into the tunnel. Dark. Cold. Free. Free. As they ran deeper into the unknown, the explosion shook the earth behind them, burying a lab full of monsters. And maybe, part of his soul. When they finally stopped to breathe, Corinne turned to him. You said, I'm carrying a command. Do you know what it does? He shook his head. But someone does. And they'll kill to get it. Corinne looked forward. Then, for the first time, she said something soft. My name means messenger in my language. He looked at her. Then let's deliver something they'll never forget. Quiet. For the first time in weeks, there was no drone, no explosion, no voice screaming orders, just birdsong. Real birds. Corinne stood at the edge of a wide valley green, full of wind, sunlight, and sound. Grass danced beneath her feet. A river moved through the center like a silver ribbon. It didn't feel like war. It felt like before. Behind her, the human walked up slowly. He looked tired, older, but something in his eyes had softened. Welcome to Grey Rock, he said. Unofficial base of the Resistance. If there's hope left in this galaxy, it's here. Grey Rock was underground, camouflaged by trees and hills, hidden from orbit. Humans and aliens lived together. Here engineers, medics, fighters, children. Some stared at Corinne. Most smiled politely. A few nodded. She wasn't used to that. You sure this is safe? She asked. No, he replied. But it's safer than anything else. They were given a room, a small one, 2 beds, a window that wasn't real, it just showed blue skies to keep the mind calm. The human placed his gear down carefully. Corinne didn't unpack. She held the crystal in her palm. It pulsed gently, like a heartbeat, like it knew they were close to something. He noticed it's reacting. She nodded. We're near a relay. Something built to receive it. A few hours later, a woman in a gray uniform entered. Tall, sharp, kind eyes. Commander Lyra. We know who you are, she told Corinne. And what you carry. Corinne, TENSED. Raised a hand. You're safe here. We've been waiting for this moment. You're not the only one who survived. What do you mean? Lyra handed her a device. Corinne tapped it on. A hologram blinked to life. An image appeared. Another Seraph survivor, a boy, no older than 12. Your signal woke up old files, Lyra explained. Somehow, your species stored data inside memory. That child speaks a language no AI can decode. Corinne's hands shook. He's alive. He's waiting for you. But we need to unlock your signal first. Corinne looked at the human. He said nothing, just watched. That night, they sat on the roof of the bunker beneath a shield that looked like the stars. It feels too easy, she whispered. It is, he said quietly. She turned. You feel it too. He nodded. The tech is old, but they have power, food, medicine, and no one here carries a weapon unless asked. Like they're trying to look harmless. He looked at her, or they're waiting. The betrayal came in silence. No alarms, no warnings, just a cold hand on her mouth in the dark. Corinne woke, kicking, struggling, her vision blurred. She was dragged down a hallway, through an elevator, into a black room she hadn't seen before. Bright lights flicked on. Commander Lyra stood there, her kind eyes now sharp and glassy. Do not fight, Lyra said. We didn't want to do this, Corinne hissed. You lied. No, Lyra said. We simply didn't tell you the cost. Two guards stepped forward. They grabbed Corinne's wrists. Lyra lifted the crystal from her cloak. She hadn't even felt it being taken. You're the key, Lyra whispered. But not the only one. That boy you saw. He's not waiting for you. He's waiting to be unlocked. Corinne's heart dropped. You don't want peace, she said. You want power. Lyra didn't deny it. Then gunfire. Not from the guards. From the hallway. The door blew open. And there he was, the human. Bleeding, burned, furious. Step away from her, he growled. Lyra narrowed her eyes. You were supposed to be loyal. I was never loyal, he replied. I was tired. In the chaos, Corinne broke free. Together, they fought blades against wires. Rifles against memory. The human got hit shoulder, then leg. Corinne grabbed him, dragging him out, dodging fire. You knew this would happen, she shouted. I had to believe it wouldn't. Why didn't you stop me from trusting them? He coughed. Because I was hoping I was wrong. They escaped through the tunnel below. The resistance behind them now, just another lie. The stars above were quiet again. But everything inside her was burning. Corinne looked at the man, his blood on her hands. You can't keep saving me, she whispered. I'm not, he replied. I'm saving the part of me that still thinks you're the last good thing left. Behind them, far away, Greyrock activated a signal. A black beacon shot into the sky. And somewhere in deep space, a voice responded. Betrayal protocol complete. Prepare the collector fleet. The stars were no longer silent. They were screaming. Corinne stood at the edge of the last cliff, wind dripping through her cloak, watching the night sky flicker. Lines of silver light, dozens. The collector fleet was coming, but she wasn't afraid anymore. 3 days ago, she had carried only a crystal dot. Now, she carried names, the names of every Seraph child, wiped from the system. The names of human rebels who tried to stop the war. The names of forgotten soldiers, failed experiments like him, who died trying to be more than weapons. The names were inside her now, not in code, in memory. The man was dying. He lay on a cot in an abandoned observatory. The old glass dome above them was cracked, showing a sky filled with fire. Corinne sat beside him, holding his hand. You don't look like a weapon anymore, she whispered. He smiled weakly. That's because I finally found something worth protecting. She wiped blood from his face. You can't go yet. We're not finished. I am, he said. You're not. He reached into his jacket, pulling out the small chip he'd hidden since the beginning. I lied to you, he said. This was the real message. Not just your people. Not just mine. Ours. Together, Corinne took it. It only works with 2 blood signatures, he added. Yours and mine. He nodded once, then closed his eyes. Forever. Corinne didn't cry. Not this time. Instead, she walked into the center of the observatory. She placed the crystal in one slot, the chip in another, and cut her palm over the interface. Blood dripped onto ancient engines waking up. The whole dome lit up with blue light. A message echoed across the sky, not in words, but in feeling. Memory. Images of war. Images of peace. Faces. Children. Fire. Rivers. Songs. Laughter. Screams. Pain and hope. The collective fleet paused. In orbit, machines designed for destruction received the signal. But something unexpected happened. They hesitated. They watched. Some turned around. Some crashed. Some simply stopped and played the message again. Because what they heard wasn't a command. It was humanity and something more. Corin stepped outside. The world was burning in places, but people were rising. Across the planet, others like her hidden hunted stood up. Humans who thought they were broken remembered how to resist. Aliens who had given up remembered how to hope. And Corin, she remembered her name. Not just the sound, the meaning. Messenger. Later, in another city, years from now, a little girl sat by a trader's stall, thin, starving, wrapped in torn clothes. A man sneered at her. "What do you have to offer?" Before the girl could speak, a voice answered, "She doesn't need to give anything. Feed her." The trader turned annoyed and saw a tall figure, cloaked in silver, eyes glowing softly. Not fully human, not fully alien. Something new, something better. Corin handed the girl a ration pack, then looked at the trader. "I was like her once," she said, "but someone helped me." The trader didn't argue. No one did anymore. In the stars above, the fleet scattered, and in their place came a signal. Not a warning, not a threat, an invitation to rebuild together. They called her many things after that. The first signal, the last messenger, the hybrid flame. But she only cared about one thing, that no child, on any world, would have to trade their dignity for survival again. Corin wasn't just more than human. She was what comes after.